Greetings and welcome to Profneel once again on a Friday. Friday premiere as usual and Republic Day week especially. And every one of us needs at least one person in our life to give us that maybe the kick in the butt, maybe to pat on the back, to help us go on our way, to inspire us in some situations where we feel we're incapable of. Today I talk about the Troika who inspired my comeback after my disability. In 1994, at the age of 28, I was at the prime of my youth, athletic. I was rendered or the comba by a cerebral stroke, which rendered my left side completely paralyzed. So this happened in 94. I went back to Delhi, and by 1996, I was on my feet, but my left arm was impaired totally. My left jaw, my left cheeks was going up, coming up to here, opened up to here. When I spoke, it was not very clear. So I had little hopes of a job, but I had to find a job. Nobody took me seriously, except one man who had more faith in me than I had in myself. Mr. Akshaychaturvedi. He changed my life in ways more than one. Just not just by giving me a job, but he changed my attitude to life after my stroke. And you need such people in your life. God sent angels. I always remember them as. It becomes better than Urdu and Hindi. खुदा के भेजे हुए फरिश्ते. Yeah, that sounds better. So Mr. Chaturvedi was general manager of operations of Orphic Resorts, and he appointed me as the marketing manager for corporate marketing manager for Orphic Resorts with about 5 resorts. Mr. Chaturvedi was 1974 batch Oberoi School of Management pass out, and Delhi Public School Mathura Road. So his Ivy League status was undoubted. He had a very big heart, a soft heart, but an equally stern demeanor. He didn't take nonsense. I learned that to my cost, at a great cost. So once, when in his cabin, I offered my disability as a excuse for a work not done satisfactorily, or I could not do it. I don't remember the actual work. So he looked at me a while, and then he said, "Neil, my this doesn't work. My this doesn't work. But my this works better than anybody else. Use this, damn it." Of course, like a typical hotelier, it was prefixed, sprinkled in the middle with, and suffixed with a whole lot of expletives in Hindi, Punjabi, and English, which would make any state transport driver blush. Hoteliers be hotel, and he was a seasoned hotelier. I can't repeat that here, naturally, but I still remember those words very well. That changed my thinking. That changed this worked better than others. He was the first one, and thankfully the first one, because he kicked butt when it was needed. And I needed that at that time. Somebody had to kick my butt, and he was there. And I always never offered any excuse for that. Mr. Chaturvedi, my first manager, who saw the spark in me, but who wanted sympathy. He refused to give it to me. And from then on, I have refused to take sympathy. I have only taken empathy, which is welcome. Empathy is welcome, but not sympathy. He kicked butt, and I loved it. Now, today, when I look back, yes, I am where I am because of him. That afternoon meeting. Sorry. The second at Madras, Mr. Johndevasahayam, the Vice President, Satyam Computers, ERP. I was managing his office. And one day we were generally chatting about life and he said, "Neil, all of us are handicapped. Unfortunately, yours shows." This was different. It was a very kind, a very humanitarian sort of approach to it. So that went. The second person was John Devasahayam. And the third, and probably the most wittiest in my life, was at Deccanaviation, India's first private heli charter company, owned, founded and owned and managed by former army officers, most of them former army helicopter pilots. They later on went on to we later on went on to launch India's first budget airline, airdeccan. Colonel Samuel, the 71 war veteran, was one of the co-founders. So he had come to Madras, and this was the first time I was meeting him. So as I rose up as I stood up from my desk to stand and to greet him, he was seated, and he looked at me with concern and seeing the way I walked. And then he asked me, "What happened, Neil?" Indicating the seat next to him. So by the time I reached him, I told him that I had a brain hemorrhage in the first year of marriage. I told him with pointing this. Very poker faced, with no expression on his face, he tells me, "Neil, happens to all of us in the first year of marriage. But your shows." I burst out laughing. The way he said it, it was pure wit, pure wit. I mean, of a Indian Army officer, and I had to clutch the table to not to stop falling because I was laughing away. I mean, my stomach, my sides were splitting away. It was aching, tears running down my cheeks, and I was like, "How could this man think of this in this moment?" He had made me forget all my pains, all my aches and griefs. And then he took hold of me and he made me sit down. And that was the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful association with Colonel Samuel and a beautiful friendship with him. Working with Deccan Aviation was probably one of the finest experiences because all those men, when they were retired army officers, be it Colonel Shari Sharma, be it Colonel AP Singh, be it Colonel Jayan Puaya or Colonel Arun Rao, my supervisor finally. Each of them had this unique trait of wit that whenever I was down or whenever I was feeling that I was physically handicapped, they would ensure that they would keep me laughing to ensure that we were on par with each other with some absolute nonsensical wit, but it worked. They never ever made me feel handicapped. They ensured that they made me feel as good as they were. Each of them, now Mr. Chaturvedi, who kicked butt, Mr. John Devasahayam, who was humanitarian, who was spiritual, and was philosophical, and Colonel Samuel, with his wit, inimitable wit, I could say that. All of them were unique in their own manner to inspire me to make a comeback into my life after my disability. So, embrace the twist to enjoy the turn. Thank you. Bye bye.